7 types of dark energy that are always around, all chosen ones. If you've ever walked into a room and felt something heavy, something unspoken that clings to your skin like humidity, you've brushed up against one of the dark energies. And if that feeling follows you everywhere, if it lingers in your thoughts when you're alone, if it shows up just when you're about to break through, then you might be one of the chosen ones. Because we don't just carry light, we are forged in shadow. Every chosen one is shadow-walked, even if they don't realize it. We're not here because it's easy. We're here because our soul agreed to face what most humans avoid at all costs: darkness. But here's what most people get wrong. They think dark energy means evil. They think it's something to run from, purge, or fear. But the deepest truth? These dark energies are not here to destroy you. They orbit you because they're drawn to your light. And paradoxically, some are here to awaken you. They're ancient, coded into the very structure of your spiritual DNA. They show up again and again, quietly, violently, mysteriously. Before every transformation, you don't choose them, they choose you. Why? Because only the chosen can withstand their pressure. Only you can hold the weight of the unseen and not collapse. Most people fold. Most people escape into denial, pleasure, distractions. But you're different. You feel the pull of something deeper. You want truth, not comfort. And so the darkness surrounds you, not to punish you, but to shape you.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first dark energy always present around a chosen one is the energy of isolation. But this isn't just physical loneliness, it's the existential loneliness that makes you feel like no one, not even your closest friend, fully understands you. You can be in a room full of people, laughing, playing along, nodding at all the right moments, and still feel like a foreigner in your own world. Why? Because your consciousness is tuned to a different frequency, because your mission pulls you away from the herd. This is not a glitch, this is a feature. Isolation strips you of the illusions of belonging. It tears you away from codependence. It introduces you to your soul, raw and unfiltered. And that encounter can be terrifying. Who are you when no one is watching? What voice do you hear in the silence? If you've ever asked yourself those questions in the dark, that wasn't a breakdown. That was a meeting with the first shadow energy. And it never really leaves. Even when you're surrounded by others later in life, that sense of otherness will always whisper, because the chosen were never meant to fully fit in. They were meant to stand apart so they could lead. The second dark energy is chaos. Not the loud, dramatic kind people like to post on social media. No, I'm talking about spiritual chaos. The kind that scrambles your identity. The kind that makes everything you thought was true crumble before your eyes. A breakup that makes you question love. A career loss that forces you to ask who you are without status. A betrayal that cracks your idea of safety. Chaos is brutal because it doesn't ask for permission. It arrives uninvited and unapologetic. But its role is sacred. Chaos clears the stage. It burns down the false structures of your life to prepare for something more authentic. Have you noticed this pattern? Every time you're on the verge of a breakthrough, something collapses first. That's not coincidence, that's architecture. Chaos doesn't visit you because it visits because you're being initiated, and the deeper your purpose, the more intense the chaos. So the next time everything falls apart, pause. Don't fight it right away. Ask yourself, what part of me is dying so something more real can be born? The third dark energy around every chosen one is temptation. It shows up as shortcuts, distractions, or desires that taste sweet but always leave a spiritual hangover. The temptation to numb, the temptation to pretend, the temptation to settle. For some, it's material success that pulls them away. For others, it's the desire to be liked, to be safe, to be comfortable. Temptation doesn't always look like a devil in disguise. Sometimes it looks like a great job offer, a perfect partner, a stable life. But underneath it, there's a catch. You have to abandon your path. You have to dim your light. Temptation tests not just your strength, but your clarity. Can you still hear your soul when everything you've ever wanted is being offered, if it costs you your truth? That's when you know you're dealing with this energy. It's not about denying all pleasure or success, it's about choosing alignment over illusion. Can you do that, even when no one's watching? Each of these dark energies is alive. They're not metaphors, they're energetic presences that hover, stalk, test, and whisper. Some are ancient patterns passed down through bloodlines, others are attracted by your frequency. But none of them are here to destroy you unless you pretend they don't exist. Because that's the secret. Darkness only wins when you deny it. Chosen ones are those who stare it in the face and say, "I see you, and I will not run." Most people are terrified to walk into the cave, but you carry a torch. But if you felt all of this, if these energies have already touched you, then you're not becoming a chosen one, you already are. Now, are you ready for the ones that don't just haunt you, but awaken hidden powers within you? Because what's coming next will change the way you look at fear, loss, and even suffering itself. The next dark energies don't just challenge you, they unlock you, unlocking through the shadows. How painful energies secretly awaken your spiritual weapons. There comes a moment on the path where darkness stops just testing you and starts activating something ancient inside you. It's no longer just about endurance, it's about awakening. That's when you meet the fourth type of dark energy, the one most people mistake for failure. It's the energy of rejection. This energy doesn't whisper, it slams doors. Opportunities vanish. People ghost you. Groups that once welcomed you suddenly turn cold. It feels personal, but here's the secret, it's not. The rejection is a sacred redirection. You're being denied not because you're not enough, but because you're too much for the space you're in. Too awake, too different, too powerful in ways that would threaten systems still built on sleep. Rejection hurts because it targets your worth. It tricks you into believing something is wrong with you, but the chosen one learns something powerful in this energy. Not being chosen by the world is proof you were chosen by something higher. Every rejection you face chisels away at the false identities you once depended on. And underneath that carving, your real power, your voice, your light. Can you sit in rejection long enough to meet what's being born under it? Then there's the fifth dark energy, the energy of doubt. This one is sneaky. It doesn't shout, it seeps in, slowly, silently, like a fog. One moment you're clear, The next, you question everything: who you are, what you're doing, whether you're insane for walking this path at all. Doubt is often portrayed as weakness in spiritual spaces, but the truth? Doubt is a threshold guardian. It's the space between the known and the unknown, the old self and the real self, and every chosen one must pass through it alone. Why? Because your faith can't be inherited, it must be forged. Doubt forces you to investigate your beliefs, to dive deeper, to go inward instead of seeking constant external validation. It makes sure you're not just repeating what you were told. It makes sure your path is yours. If you've ever laid awake at night thinking, what if none of this is real? You're not failing, you're being refined. What emerges on the other side of doubt is not blind faith, it's embodied knowing, the kind no one can ever take from you again. But if doubt is subtle, the sixth energy is anything but. The energy of destruction arrives with force. It tears, it burns, it ruins. This is the energy of deaths, not always physical, but deaths of identity, relationships, dreams, stability. The world you built collapses. Sometimes it happens fast, like an explosion. Other times it's slow erosion. But either way, you're left standing in the rubble, confused, devastated, alone. And here's where it gets strange. Many chosen ones experience these events repeatedly. Why? Because with each collapse, another illusion dies. Another mask falls off. Another layer of ego disintegrates. Destruction is the fire that clears the forest for new growth. But what do you do when you're in the middle of it? When you've lost your way, your person, your path? You surrender, not as a victim, but as an alchemist. You look at the ashes and ask, what is this loss creating space for? Destruction, when faced with awareness, becomes the most fertile soil. In fact, some of your greatest gifts will be born here, not in the light, but in the charred remains of what couldn't come with you. And now we reach the seventh energy, the most powerful, the most mysterious, and the most misunderstood, the energy of the void. This isn't pain, this isn't chaos, this isn't noise, this is nothing. Pure, vast, spiritual silence, a place where all meaning dissolves. You're not sad, not scared, not angry. You just are, but not in a comforting way. In a way that feels like floating in space with no tether to anything familiar. The void shows up after major transformations, after initiations, after growth. It's not the absence of God, it's the space where all gods go to die. It's terrifying because there are no rules here, no labels, no purpose, just stillness. And if you panic, you'll try to fill it with distractions, with noise, with old identities. But if you stay, if you breathe into the emptiness, something magical happens. You become the creator, not the follower, not the seeker, the source. The void isn't where you're lost. It's where you start writing reality itself. It's where the final chains fall away and your true power clicks into place. That's why it's always the last energy, because only a chosen one, fully awakened, can withstand the loneliness of being free. So what if I told you all these energies are not random? They're placed like markers on a map to test not your strength, but your readiness. They are keys, each unlocking a deeper level of awareness, embodiment, and spiritual authority. And now, as you look back on your life, ask yourself, how many of these energies have already visited me? And more importantly, how did I respond? You see, the dark energies are not curses. They are sacred flames. They don't come to punish you, they come because they recognize you. And maybe, just maybe, the reason your path has been so heavy is because your light was never meant to flicker. It was meant to burn through illusions, to awaken others, to change the vibration of entire timelines. And that leads us to the final question every chosen one must eventually answer. Not, why is this happening to me, but what am I now being prepared to become? When darkness bows to you, the final power hidden in every chosen one's shadow, there is a moment you don't even realize you're heading toward. A moment when everything you've endured, all the energies you've faced, begin to make sense. It doesn't come wrapped in celebration, no one claps, there are no fireworks, just silence and clarity. You realize the very forces that tried to crush you were actually preparing you. You realize that what nearly destroyed you was never your enemy. It was your mentor in disguise. And most importantly, you realize that all the dark energies, the isolation, resistance, rejection, doubt, destruction, and even the terrifying void, were not around you by accident. They were orbiting your field because of what you carry. You were marked long before you were born. Not marked for ease, not for fame, but for something far greater. Influence without corruption, vision without delusion, power without ego. That is why you were not protected from the fire. You were placed directly in it, because only fire knows how to call forth what is divine and indestructible. So now, after surviving the chaos, standing among the ashes and holding nothing but the invisible memory of your spirit's strength, you realize something wild. The darkness listens to you now. It doesn't run, it doesn't mock you, it acknowledges you. Because you didn't try to destroy it, you outlasted it. That's when you begin to sense the final secret. These dark energies don't just test chosen ones, they begin to serve them. That's the twist no one tells you. That's the real hidden transformation. Darkness doesn't vanish after the awakening, it obeys. It becomes a tool in your hands, not a weight on your chest. But here's the paradox. You must first respect it. You must learn to speak its language, understand its timing, and honor its role. Only then does it shift from attacker to ally. This is the truth only those who make it this far ever taste. Dark energies are intelligent. They have memory. They know who you are. They surround you not just to challenge you, but to follow you. Think of it this way. Every time you didn't break, every time you chose love over bitterness, purpose over chaos, stillness over reaction, you earned their recognition. The darkness itself took note. And now you can enter rooms and shift atmospheres without saying a word. You can be in the presence of chaos, and instead of being consumed by it, you absorb it, transmute it, and anchor light within it. Not by preaching, not by controlling, but simply by existing fully as who you are. Authentic, aware, and unafraid of your shadow. So let me ask you a deep question. What if your pain was not the sign you were weak, but the sign you were chosen to hold more power than most? And what if that power had to first be shaped in secret so no one could corrupt it, not even you, because here's what no one tells you until you're ready to hear it. The chosen ones are not light workers in the way people think. They are not here just to shine. They are here to balance, to hold both ends of the spectrum, to speak the language of shadow and translate it into healing, to walk through spiritual warfare without losing their compassion, to carry weapons of truth not to wound, but to awaken. You now carry an invisible authority, not given by the world, but forged in private. In nights you couldn't sleep, in days you almost gave up, in relationships that shattered you, in visions that haunted you until you finally surrendered to your path. And the reward? You no longer need to search for your purpose. You are the purpose. Every step you take realigns timelines. Every word you speak echoes through people's subconscious long after the conversation ends. You don't need titles, you don't need permission, you walk with presence, and presence rearranges reality. So the next time you feel the dark around you, don't fear it, acknowledge it. It's there because it knows who you are now. And if you dare to step forward, not as a victim of it, but as the master of what it once tried to control, you will find the final gate has already opened. You are not becoming the chosen one, you are the chosen one. And now, everything around you knows it too. You were never meant to escape darkness, you were meant to command it. There's a sacred truth that gets buried beneath spiritual trends and surface-level teachings. Something that only those who have walked through the fire with their eyes open can understand. It's this: you were never meant to transcend your darkness. You were meant to integrate it, lead it, channel it, speak its language fluently so you could one day sit between light and shadow as a bridge, not as a battleground. While many seek to escape their darkness, you come to a place where you realize it was never your enemy, it was your initiation. And when you finally integrate these 7 dark energies, not by force, not by denial, but through full awareness, you become the rarest kind of being. You become what the ancients whispered about: a force that bends timelines, a presence that dissolves illusions, a vessel so anchored that even chaos moves around you in reverence. You no longer fear rejection because your spirit isn't addicted to approval. You don't chase love, you embody it fiercely. You don't avoid failure, you alchemize it. The pain no longer defines you, it informs you. The energy no longer manipulates you, it responds to you. And now let's come full circle. Remember the 7 dark energies: isolation, resistance, rejection, doubt, destruction, the void, and interference. What if I told you these weren't just forces meant to test you, but symbols of spiritual sovereignty? When they orbit you, it's not because you're weak, it's because your light is growing too powerful to go unnoticed. The greater your light, the more sacred shadows will arrive, not to dim you, but to stretch your capacity to hold truth. They appear to sculpt you in secret, so you can lead in silence, and eventually speak without sound, influence without effort, lead without needing the spotlight. But here's the most mind-bending truth. After a certain point, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What part of me is this dark energy bowing to?" You shift from reaction to revelation. And in that shift, your entire frequency evolves. You become spiritually unshakable. You no longer need external proof of your power. You walk into the unknown knowing the unknown already recognizes you. You realize the attacks were just acknowledgments. The silence wasn't punishment, It was a divine classroom. The pain wasn't a block, it was a portal. At this level, you don't ask the universe for signs, you are the sign. You're the sign someone's prayers are about to be answered. You're the frequency that realigns someone who was on the brink of giving up. You're the silent trigger that awakens souls who didn't even know they were asleep. And what empowers you to hold that space? It's not perfection, it's your scars, your unseen breakdowns, your spiritual stamina. You know how to die and come back. You've done it too many times to count. And now you carry an energy of inevitability. When you speak, it lands. When you move, things change. When you enter a room, people feel a presence. They don't understand, but they respect. So let me end with this. If you felt surrounded by darkness for too long, if you've been questioning your path, your timing, your value, remember, the darkest energies guard the brightest portals. And if you're encountering these forces, it's not because you've lost your way, it's because you're getting close. Too close to truth, too close to remembering what the world tried to make you forget, that you were never just a seeker. You were the signal. You were never just surviving your darkness. You were absorbing it, shaping it, transforming it into your most divine ally. You are the chosen one that the darkness could not defeat. Because you never fought it, you mastered it, and now it will follow you, not to devour you, but to serve you. Welcome to the other side. Welcome to your throne in the shadows.